Hello everybody, my name is Kevin Dunlap. I am the founder of Plentiful Perspectives, and I want to thank you for buying into this program to help you to become an author. In the next few videos in the phase 1 of the pre-writing part of your book, there's a few things that you're going to need to know to lay the groundwork so that you can get your book off to a great start. However, these few things you need to know before you even start writing that first word on the first page. So in order to do that, the first thing you need to know is you need to start with the end in mind and then reverse engineer it to get back to the beginning. When I say the end in mind is, you want to be looking about what is it you're going to end up doing with your book. And over the next few videos, we'll be covering a lot of that. So one of the first things that we want to talk about is who is going to be on your team. In order to get a successful book out there, you need to have an effective team. This team is going to be with people that you may or may not know at this time. Some of your teammates, you may not even know who they are until months into the process, and that's going to be okay for some of the people. In this initial video, in the phase 1 of the book writing process, let's review who are some of the teammates that you are going to need. So the very first person you're going to have on your team is your writing coach. Now, this writing coach is going to help you with your techniques and shortcuts, as well as how should you be setting up each of your chapters. Also, how to set up each paragraph in each of those chapters. This is somebody that's actually written books. This is somebody that's actually coaching people on a professional basis. I know when I wrote my first book, I did not have a coach, and it was not the greatest book out there. Now, when I was writing my second book, I never even thought about having a chapter summary and then a teaser of the upcoming chapter at the very end of each chapter. And I stuck with his ideas. I agreed with most of them, and that actually is how I got my second book created. There are so many things I did not know in the book writing process. So this is why a book writing coach is something that you would strongly want to consider. Also about quotes that are used at the beginning of each chapter. One thing I did learn, and this had nothing to do with my book, is there's only so many words that you can use in a song in a book without having the artist giving you permission to use those words in your book. So you want to be careful when you're writing a book that you are following all those rules. I do strongly suggest that you do hire a coach for writing your book. The next person on your team is your editor. And I do highly recommend this, because if you have an editor on your team, this is the person that's going to read your manuscript after you think you're done when you're finished writing all of your drafts. If you don't hire an editor, it can be very obvious to the reader. I think having an editor is one of the most critical factors in writing a book, because when you have that editor, they're going to catch those spelling errors. They're going to catch those grammatical mistakes. You've got these other issues with the book. What you have in chapter 2 should be in chapter 7, and so many other little ideas that you may not have ever thought of. Usually a content editor is somebody that has a master's or even a PhD in creative writing. So these people know what they're talking about. Have you ever thought about when you were in college or in high school and you wrote that paper, you maybe let a friend read it just to make sure it was clear, making sure that what you were trying to say was actually being conveyed. And quite often it probably was not. It was clear in your mind, but it was not clear to the other person because they don't have those experiences that you went through. So many times when somebody reads a paper or even a book, if the author was not being very clear, they are not going to understand that book, and they may even put it down and stop reading it due to that lack of clarity. Therefore, hiring that editor, I think, is one of the most paramount things that you can do. So definitely have a content editor on your team. Now here's one that you may not even thought about. You may also want to have a professional photographer on your team as well. You may ask, why would I need a photographer for writing a book? The main reason is, if this is a soft cover, you want a good picture on the back of the book of yourself. If you're writing hardcover, you're going to want a good picture on the inside flap of your book. So you definitely want a good picture of yourself to best represent your book. So you want one of the best pictures that you want of you, not just some random picture that you pulled off on your computer or some selfie that you took. You definitely don't want you to be with a group of other people unless they are co-authors on that book. So definitely hire a photographer to go and take a good photo of you. You want a phenomenal picture of you to help you sell that book. The next person you want on your team is a good graphic designer. The graphic designer is also one of the most paramount things for your book, because this is the person that's going to actually be designing your covers. front, back, and spine. Now, do you have any images inside the book that you want to also convey? This one here, making sure that it fits on the page. That graphic designer is the person that's going to be doing all of those images inside the book. Now, when you do a book, you do want to make sure that you have all your designs on the inside in a grayscale or black and white mode. It's because of just printing costs will be so much more expensive if you try to do color photos inside the book. The graphic designer, if you're doing hardcover, is not only going to do your dust jacket for you and your flaps, but they're also going to design your hardcover part of the book. The next person is going to be your formatter. They're the ones that's going to be turning your 8.5 by 11 page that you wrote in Word or whatever word processing tool that you're using and convert it to fit into a 6 by 9 book or whatever size book that it may be. You want that person to put it into the format that that book is going to be in. That person will also do your table of contents, any of your fancy numbering that you're going to do. If you're going to have headers on each of the chapters, page numbers, making sure that the page numbering rules are being applied. Like for an example, if a page ends on the right and you flip it over, there's a blank white page. You want to make sure there's no page number at the bottom of that page. Same thing often with the pages that have chapters on them. Quite frequently, you will see there's no page number in that chapter. However, that page is still being counted. Other things that format is going to do is it's going to create your table of contents, all your inserts, making sure they're in the right order. Also, any indexing that you're going to be doing, as well as any other special requirement that you need that's going to fit in your book. The formatter will also make sure that all your designs that you have in your book fit within the confines of that book. So yes, that formatter is critical. This person can also be the person that converts your book into an ebook that can be sellable on Kindle. In the ebook, you're not going to have any blank pages like you do on the back of a page that ends on the right and there's nothing on the left. That page will be taken out. They will also make sure that your table of contents and indexes are updated appropriately for that ebook. So this is the person that's going to be doing all of the final works on your book. The next person you're going to want on your team is a printer. This will be the person that actually prints that first copy of your book, known as your proof. Now, if you're going hardcover, you usually have to go to an outside printing company that does this. There are two kinds of printers. The first one is if you're going hardcover. If you're going to go with a hardcover design, they need to upload this into their system and actually print the book. It may take them a few times running the program to get it done right, but once they get it done, they will send you a copy for you to look at. You read, making sure everything fits on the pages and it looks precisely the way that you want it to. The actual first copy that they send to you is known as a proof. The proof is usually the most expensive book to make because it's the first run. They're making sure that your book fits within the confines of how that printer prints books. And you want to review that proof because you want to make sure that if there's any changes that had to be made, you get them made. Changes could be that the spine bleeds over on the front or the back, or the front cover bleeds over onto the spine. Other things are going to be how the pages are set out. You want to make sure everything looks perfect. If you're doing what's called print on demand or going soft cover, places like CreateSpace and a few other places can actually print this book, send you a copy of it so you can review it, and then whenever anybody else orders your book, they will print it at that specific time and send it to that customer. The print on demand company like CreateSpace will upload your manuscript and send on a separate file will be your front cover, spine, back cover, and then they will print that and they will send you a proof as well. As you can see, this is the actual proof of my very first book. Now, one of the things I would almost recommend that you do is when you get your first book, I suggest you videotape it. I videotaped myself when I got this book before I opened the box. I got it from Amazon. It was sitting on my desk. I put on my video camera. I videotaped myself as I was opening the package and pulled this book out. And it's like, that was such a great experience. Watching my face holding my very first book in hand, even with a typo on the back cover that was later corrected. So I did proof this book. Here is the proof showing that. And the last person you want on your team is a promoter or event planner. This is going to be the very last person that you're probably going to hire for your team. The promoter is the person that is going to actually be promoting you for your book launches, promoting you for book signings, getting you on stages on other people's stages so that you could sell your course material as well as your book. Also, what is it that you're going to be doing with your book now that you have it? Are you going to be using it to get on stages? Are you going to be using it to talk at events, to help people, do group meetings, whatever? Sometimes you may need that promoter or event planner to help get you booked. And having somebody that does this on a professional level is very helpful for you. So you definitely want to get a promoter unless you want to do it all yourself. So as you can see, having all of these people on your team is going to be critical. The most important one is going to be this one at the very beginning. These other ones can come later as you're writing your book. The writing coach is the one that's going to be the most important to you. That's the person that's going to get you started in writing that book. These last three here will come toward the very end. I mean, there's no reason to send your book to a formatter if it hasn't even been edited yet. There's no point there. So therefore, getting the writing coach is paramount for number one. And then once you are done with your manuscript, then comes your editor, and all of these other ones will be coming at that toward the end of the book. That is it for building your team. And in the next video, we're going to be talking about what is the purpose of your book. And you're going to have to answer this one simple question. Are you writing your book to sell your book, or are you writing your book to make money off your book? Until the next video, see you later.